So let's talk about the Book of Joan by Lidia Yuknovitch. The Book of Joan by Lidia Yuknovitch. This one is a very heavy novel, but it's also kind of fun, strangely enough. I should tell you right now, there will be spoilers of this book. And this is not so much a book review as it is just a book talk. So here's my review really quick. I liked it a lot. So now let's talk about it. So the Book of Joan is set in the future on a planet, or maybe it's actually a ship, called Ciel, C-I-E-L. Earth has long since been destroyed by man's wars. Everything just went bad and they had to get off Earth quickly. In the process of all the war and the destruction and everything that was going on, people lost their individuality. Quite literally. Their bodies, now that they're on Ciel, are genderless, no pigmentation, no hair. They're just kind of beings, and they're euthanized at age 50. Yikes. So here's an artistic rendering I had my husband draw up real quick of what those people may have looked like. The only thing they really have to express any kind of individuality is body modification. So they have these elaborate skin grafts that they'll surgically put onto their bodies, or they'll do tattoos, branding style. So Christine, one of the main characters, is quite the expert at that. She has a pen that has a burning hot tip that she'll use to brand the skin. So as part of her body modification, she has inked, so to say, but really it's more burned, Joan's story onto her body. And so she'll lie there in her cell at night, feeling the words upon her skin and reimagining Joan of Dirt's story. So this is where we start to flash back. It'll go through the story of Joan of Dirt, this folk hero who seems impervious to death, to war, to destruction. She's a leader of people, a lover of people. She manages to retain herself while everybody else is losing themselves. So to understand the Book of Joan, you really need to understand Joan of Arc's story, because of course the Book of Joan is a loose retelling of Joan of Arc, albeit a sci-fi dystopian retelling of her story. So Joan of Arc was kind of a child phenom. When she was a kid, she received visions of various saints calling upon her to do good works. She somehow convinced Charles VII to let her lead these battles in the 100 Years' War. She was successful in a lot of battles. She started dressing as a man, and as a teen was leading all these people in these battles. Eventually she was captured and burned at the stake just short of her 19th year. Later she was deemed to be a martyr and went down in history as this great teen genius, doer of good things. The fire imagery is rich in this book because, of course, Joan of Arc burns at the stake, but also in the Book of Joan they have all sorts of references to fire. Joan of Dirt burns up but survives. Christine burns Joan's story into her skin and she lives on that way, just as Joan of Arc lived on in martyrdom after her burning at the stake. Another significant thing is the theological references throughout the book, which is hard to miss because Joan of Arc, of course, was a religious figure with deeply held religious beliefs and visions. So the words upon Christine's skin are a lot like transubstantiation. That's the phenomenon, of course, in which people go to church, they take communion, and they're symbolically taking in the blood and body of Christ when they're eating the wafer, drinking the wine. So with the words upon Christine's skin, it's kind of like a prayer almost. It's her own personal communication in which she's taking Joan's body, Joan's story into herself, into her own body, quite literally, because her story is inked upon her. I keep saying inked, it's burned upon her. The really interesting thing to me, and this is where I'm getting into spoilers a lot more, is Jeanne. This is the villain of the book. But to me, this seems like just another alternate version of Joan of Arc. So Joan of Arc, of course, dressed up as a man. Jean turns out dresses up as a man. In fact, the name is Jean de Man. Joan of Arc, when she was born, her name was Jeanne or Jeanne. So the naming conventions are really similar there. And Jean de Man of the book thought that he was doing the right thing. He thought he was on the right path. He thought he was saving humanity when in fact he doomed it. He doomed all of its people. His piousness was ill-placed. And it meant the end of humanity. I think that maybe this book presents two alternate versions of Joan of Arc. Which one is good, which one is bad? I mean, obviously, Joan of Dirt is the good, sympathetic character of the story. But I think there's a really rich story to Jean de Man also. So, super interesting book. Near the end, there was so much going on that I kind of lost track a little bit. It was hard to keep up with everything that was going on with everyone. There were so many plot points coming to fruition and so many feels and so many surprises. I feel I may have not caught everything and that maybe a rereading would be in order. So The Book of Joan by Lidia Yuknovitch. I'd really like to hear what you guys think of it. I enjoyed it quite a bit. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time. Bye.